Would you leave your garage door open at night, no locks on the doors, and just let anyone or anything come into your house at will? I'm Dr. Carol. Thank you for joining me on this episode. That is exactly what you are doing if you allow the internet into your home, your life, your mind, without any barriers, without any intentionality. Now, I am an adult, and most of those who are watching right now, you probably are an adult, but as dangerous as that can be for you and I, what about kids, young people? Their brain isn't equipped to handle the dangers that come in. I have a very special guest to talk about this with me today, Sarah Siegand. Sarah and her husband, Jesse Siegand, started Parents Who Fight 10 years ago as they realized what they were dealing with for their two boys. Well, their boys are now young adults, and Parents Who Fight has become a significant force, especially in the body of Christ, helping parents, youth leaders, church leaders, pastors, school leaders, etc. First of all, understand the issues and then find real and practical ways to deal with the tsunami of the internet and perhaps especially of internet porn that is potentially devastating for the futures and lives and minds and hearts and bodies of the young people under your care. Parents Who Fight is worth paying attention to. I've heard some of what Sarah addresses in this topic, and her passion is contagious, and I am so excited to bring this conversation to you. Well, Sarah Siegand, you and I have been communicating a little bit, and I have been looking forward to this conversation. A really huge thank you for being with us today.
Oh, it is my honor. Thank you for having me.
Well, Sarah, you and your husband are passionate about kids, young people, tech, and both the risks and the ways to handle that. And we're going to talk about Parents Who Fight and all the just amazing things that you're doing. But for our listeners that may not be aware of what you have been doing, I love it when God takes something that's in our stories and uses it. I think he does that almost all the time. And you and your husband walk through some things in your marriage around tech and, just all of that I can certainly see how God took that and then has set you up for what you're doing now. And maybe just a word or two about that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we are Gen Xers, which means we're the last generation to reach adulthood without the internet. And I think with that came some challenges for everyone in our age range because we were not prepared for what the internet would do. So if you were raised in a home where there are toxic influences like alcohol and drugs and pornography, like my husband was, and then you find freedom and you walk in sobriety and that's all awesome. And then now the internet is like delivering the drug to your door every day and you're expected to know how to handle that. So that early in our marriage, I think our first computer, when we got married, we didn't even have email addresses. Okay. Mm-hmm. It was such a freeing time. But we, got a computer within the first year or so of our marriage. That was kind of like the first invasion of like, oh, this is like, we're going to have to really fight against this.
Yeah.
And we were aligned in doing that for sure and walked in freedom. But I think there was like a second invasion for our generation when the internet went to our pockets.
Yes.
And we saw a lot of marriages struggling, and we certainly struggled in our own marriage, had some really serious things happen kind of year 12. Our kids are really small. And I think having children in the second invasion really did something in me as a mama bear, because I realized, the things that had been planted in my husband and so many other people in our generation as young people, It was all based on access, right? So it was like you had to know where the stash was. These, hard copy things would get passed around, pornographic magazines. And if you didn't have access, you didn't necessarily struggle in the same way. So there was a big thing on access. So when we walked through our marital restoration at year 12, and my children were very small, we had kids late, we realized that in order to be ruthless about this enemy, we had to really change our access.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have smartphones for a long time. When we finally did get them, we didn't have anything on them that was social media or anything. My husband got rid of social media. We had one computer in our home. We had Covenant Eyes on that computer. We still don't have a smart TV. We're like the last people in America. So there are things that we realized, we're just not going to be able to put up a fair fight if we have the drugs being delivered to us constantly.
Yes. Yeah.
So for our boys, when they were in elementary school and we started to hear about kids in their circles who knew incredibly graphic sexual information, it was like there's really only two options. Either that child is being abused or that child has seen hardcore pornography, or maybe a mix of both.
Yes.
And so we really jumped into the fight to teach families how to shift their access and how to, prayerfully bring technology into your family life and have it all in the light and all of these things. So for many, many years, we really focused on like the technological aspects of how to reduce your kids' access. Some of that is just limiting your devices, right?
Sure.
But there are tricks, having a filtered Wi-Fi signal in your home. All of these things we've done, we've raised our kids in it. Our kids are now 18 and 21. And they appreciate the fact and are able to say, thank you for keeping our family together, because they know so many families who didn't survive the invasion. So
Yes.
I feel really thankful and blessed because the Lord's redemptive work was really prompted by my husband's willingness to be very authentic, to fully repent, and to submit himself to the work of the community of faith and the Holy Spirit. So our church really walked us through those difficult years. And as a result of that, we had so many people in our lives who saw us taking a different path of technology and who came alongside to do the same. And that was a gift that my kids received because their friends had similar limited access.
Yeah.
So we're passionate about helping families and churches go a different way and just reminding them, you have a choice. You have a choice. You don't have to do it the world's way.
Yeah. That's awesome, Sarah. And I know that, listeners are hooking up with so many places in your, and I hooking up. They're resonating with so many places in your story. Two things I just want to comment on. First, this isn't only about trying harder. You
Yes.
alluded your husband struggled with it, and it's not just oh I'm going to try harder not to look at that or not to go there. You took action to protect, putting boundaries in place. Covenant Eyes. We're going to put a link to Covenant Eyes, by the way.
Yes.
Great service, great organization. Um, and also, this is not your parents' pornography
Yes.
that kids are having to be prepared to address or families are having to know about today. Like, you said, your generation with Gen Xers, the magazines that you have to go look for. And this isn't just a picture of a naked woman now.
Correct.
It's, the hardcore, the violence, and, we don't need to glorify the darkness, but this is really, really dark.
Yes. And it is the D-Day picture of you are landing boats, and statistically, a number of you are not going to survive,
Yes.
statistically, because the enemy is so formidable and that front is so unguarded. And
Yes.
so, understanding that, yeah, it is a spiritual war.
Yes.
Ultimately, it is a spiritual war. But we do have physical weapons.
Yes.
that make us able to wage war wisely. And so we, for many, many years, it was like I became like the tech guru, which was completely accidental because I did not feel especially tech savvy. But I realized in just knowing the few things that I knew, I was out in front of a lot of my peers.
Yes.
And so started helping parents lock things down. But in, as our kids have aged up, we've realized, okay, in order to get to the next generation, to really equip the next generation of warriors, we have to equip them with a different way of approaching technology. And some of that could be learning how to limit it, but some of it is going to be helping them to understand how potent and how biologically
Yes.
addictive these things are. So it is a spiritual battle, but we do have some biological weapons that we need to deploy. And we love helping families and now really focusing more on church bodies to help them know how to put those things into place.
Yeah. For parents that may have not been engaging in this battle as much, I've heard it likened to if you left your garage door open all night, every day, that's the same as letting the internet unguarded into your home. You wouldn't leave your doors and your garage open all the time. You shouldn't just allow what is actually much worse on the internet come into your home unguarded. We're going to talk more about some of the ways to handle this, but would you also speak to pornography may be the single biggest boogeyman, but the internet is not only about pornography. The tech issues, especially for young people, are broader than only that.
Yes. Well, it's been interesting raising boys and hearing their comments and their feedback about what they see, for example, in girls.
Yes.
So I think, on a college campus, if you have young men who love the Lord and who want to walk in freedom, they're more open about the ways that pornography is a challenge for them. They want to have accountability and they are trying to be ruthless in
Yes.
whatever ways they can be. But if you talk about like the subtle seed of comparison
Yeah.
or of surfacey trying to, project some image that girls are more tempted by,
Yes.
that is not something that they are ruthlessly going after because it doesn't seem as bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, yeah, that guy should definitely address his porn problem. And girls have porn problems too, for sure.
Yes.
Girls don't talk about it as much. Boys, at least that is something they are more likely to discuss. And I think that is a gift. So girls can definitely struggle with pornography, but girls are also struggling with this temptation to be hot.
Yep.
And, I think if when you talk about like the first invasion, the second invasion, I think the third invasion that is really coming for our girls is AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're not prepared for all of the photos that they have posted publicly with thousands of public followers on social media. All of those photos are now in the game, in the AI game. Anybody can take them and do whatever they want to have that girl's image, to have her body, to be able
Yes.
to manipulate her body. And I think that certainly will, it will and does happen for boys. But I think for girls now, it's like you really don't have the luxury of being able to engage with social media that way. Maybe 10 years ago, you thought, well, who was gonna, what's the harm? I look good in a bikini. I'm going to post it. And now it's like, when I talk to college age girls about these things, I see their eyes get like really big. So
Exactly.
I think, that pornography is a huge issue. It is impacting literally every person in our generation, in our kids' generation. But I think there's a lot of subtleties that young people are not aware of. They're not aware of the biohacking. They're
Yep.
not aware of their minds not being able to focus on things. They see it. This is just the way everything is. And I think our generation and all of those who came before us, we are carrying the truth of it doesn't have to be this way,
Yes.
and you can make a different choice. But it is going to take all of us to come around and support Gen Z and Gen Alpha to help them pull out of just the magnetizing of their generation to technology. They're going to have to work very hard to not have it control their inner life and
Yeah.
their spiritual life.
Yeah.
And we have to step up to help them.
Yeah. Uh, Another yeah, speaker on this topic I've heard talk about discipled by the internet or
Mm-hmm.
discipled by pornography
Mm-hmm.
because it's so overwhelming. So we could talk about brain science, and that would be a fruitful discussion. But I want to talk about what those in your space, or perhaps my space, or leaders' space, can do to make a difference in this situation. Certainly, using the technology protections. That's got to be a no-brainer. That
Yes.
has to be there.
Yes.
But you now have been working at a different level where it's beyond just my personal smartphone, which needs to be addressed. But this is about the environmental, the community aspects, which any parent or leader knows peer pressure is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how does that work out?
Well, I think we have a secret weapon in the church because we have community.
Yeah.
We have shared moral compasses, and hopefully, we are in agreement on what the truth of the scripture is saying about how we raise kids, and our interconnectedness with one another. So when you talk about collective action, which so grateful for Jonathan Haidt for really bringing that term into like the forward conscience of society right now. In the church, we've had collective action for decades, generations, because we are aligned on these things, or, we're certainly seeking health to be aligned. And so within our church body, we really just started very organically talking as parents of like, our kids were young. I don't want to give them a smartphone. Do you want to get, we're not, okay, we're not going to give them a smartphone. Here comes that access piece, but we were doing it together so our kids didn't feel left out. Sure,
Mm,
their school experience was different, but they had a dozen or more kids in their youth group that were their personal friends, not just like I've heard of so and so.
yeah.
The people they are seeing all the time who don't have phones, who don't have social media. And parents are pouring the truth into our kids. And then it got to the level of our leaders.
Mhm.
And we have a youth pastor who is amazing, who used to work in tech. He knows how detrimental and destructive these things can be. And he, without any prompting from me, I had to remind my son, who was a newly minted high schooler with a lockdown iPhone. No prompting from me. The youth pastor said, we're going to basically ban tech in our weekly services. And it was an adjustment, but it has brought so much freedom, not just because, oh, now the kids are less distracted, but now they know it's a better way. They are convinced. We've been doing it for 5 years. We've had a church camp that is like multiple churches and multiple congregations from around our city. That has been phone free for a decade.
Mm,
And the kids will say this is the best week because they're not tethered to addictive
yes.
technology and none of their friends are. So if you look at the role of a ministry leader in the body of Christ, they are carrying spiritual authority that has the possibility of turning off access and showing a different way for kids at scale. So
Yes.
as a mom, I can say, okay, guys, we're going without our phones today, or we're going on vacation without our phones. And I have 2 children. There's 4 of us in our family. That affects 4 of us. It's great. But there is nothing like being at a church camp where you are encountering the presence of God and
Yes.
receiving the truth of the word and having fun with all of your friends in person, and no one is getting pulled away. No one is looking at pornography. No one is worried about their snap streaks. Nobody is in that loop of cortisol and dopamine cortisol.
Yep.
So now that youth pastor and those leaders who have said we're in, I mean, I honestly think it's why this particular camp, it's called Pursuit Camp, is growing and growing and growing, because churches are seeing, oh, you're going to take the hit, you're going to say no technology, done, we're there. And their kids are getting so set free from things at this camp because they realize that everything that they're struggling with, the strongholds their phone is bringing, that's like not real life. It's not
Yep.
real.
Yep. Yep.
And so we're trying to, now that we have this experience, it's like our church basically ran a social experiment. We've seen the fruit of a better way. And so we want ministry leaders to know that not only is it possible, but we actually are going to make resources to help you do it. We want to help you know how you can implement these things, because if the church doesn't get out in front of it, and the church, like Sam Black says in his book, The Healing Church, the church is God's plan A.
Yes.
We
Yes.
are the ones who are carrying the spiritual authority, and we already have collective action in our midst to do something about this. And Jonathan Haidt actually has said that about churches. Like, churches are poised to make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
So why aren't we doing it? And when you see how, school districts all over America, including the entire state of Tennessee, where I live, cell phones are banned this coming year during instruction. And so now, like, public schools are taking a stand that churches aren't taking. That should be reversed.
Yes.
We
Yes.
and to realize, what, kids are adapting. Like, there are many schools in our city that we've been to and had assemblies at and whatever, that the kids are like, it's great. It's great having my phone not available to me. So I think that as ministry leaders, we have to put aside the fear of not being relevant, or the kid, what, just like that season is done.
Yes.
The tides have crashed on the shore.
Yep.
Plenty of people got sucked out to sea. We don't have to play that game anymore. What we need is courageous leadership to say, we're going to do it a different way. So actually, can I just share these 4 norms for the church
Okay.
that the Lord
Okay.
gave me?
All right.
So I was asking the Lord, because I'm like, I love that Jonathan Haidt's 4 norms are simple. They're easy to communicate. You can do them at any, economic point. It doesn't require an act of Congress. And so one of the things I was seeing in churches that we were ministering at was like, they don't want to do anything super legalistic. So they don't want to say, in our church, you can't have a phone until whatever, which I totally get. And we embrace that. Like, that's important. We don't want to be legalistic.
Yep.
So I asked the Lord, can you give me 4 norms for the church that people can unify around, no matter what kind of economic situation, maybe they're in a divorced home,
Yeah.
etc. So the 4 norms that the Lord gave me are, the first is prayer. Can we agree as a church body to prayerfully consider the technology that is currently in our lives? Is this serving our family or tearing our family down?
Yep.
In my life, is my phone serving, the purposes of God in my life, or is it causing me to be spiritually weak? And can we prayerfully consider any new technology that we think might be on the horizon?
Yep.
So, like, we don't have a smartphone yet or a smart TV yet. We're not going to get a smart TV till we've prayed about it. Is this the right season? Probably when our kids are completely moved out, just saying.
Exactly. Yes.
So prayer, we can unite around that. The second one is pacing. Can we agree as a church body that we're not going to adopt the pace of the world? We're not going to be pressured to adopt the pace of the world. We are going at the Lord's pace. Mm-hmm. And his pace includes a spiritual health and biblical worldview of our kids. And we know that work is done between 0 and 13 primarily. And so technology is not going to dominate our pace. We are going to be at the pace of the Lord. We're not looking to culture. We're going to be at the pace of the Lord.
Yeah.
The third thing is protect, which you already, mentioned. Can we agree that we're going to implement standard tech protections in our home? And at this point in our talk, I have an oven mitt, a big orange oven mitt. I put it on my hand, and I let people know I have a refrigerator and a stove right next to one another in my home. And only one of them do my kids see me reach in with the oven mitt. And
Yes.
that is the one that is dangerous. So
Yes.
when we don't, pin lock certain things on our TVs or our phones, when we have just wide open access, we're communicating to our kids that this is safe for you. And that is not true. So we
Yep.
have to be careful to not only lock things down, not just for the sake of appearances, but because we can't leave our garage doors open, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, but we also want to send our kids the message from the youngest age that this is not safe by design. So
Yes.
you need my help in order for it to be safe. And then the final thing is, can we all agree to partner? So
That's
we're
good.
going to partner together. We're going to hold up each other's arms. We're going to serve the single moms and single
Mhm.
dads in our church body. We're going to serve the grandparents who are trying to reparent grandkids.
Yes.
We're going to help them install things. We're going to teach. We've got an army of millennials and Gen Zers who know how to install things on
Yep.
technology.
Yep.
So we need them. We need them to be a resource for parents. So prayer, pace, protect, and partner. Those are our 4 norms for the church that
That's
we're
good.
rolling out with.
That's really good, Sarah. As leaders or parents are hearing us talk, I can imagine a couple questions. And let me just throw these out. One is, what if we've already gone far down this road? You know, my kid is 11 and all their friends have smartphones and I'm giving them a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Or what about, okay, they need to be exposed to this stuff while they're still under my roof so that we can process it rather than just having them connect with the tsunami later. Uh,
Sure.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the second one first. We like to show this fast forwarded video of a teenager learning how to deadlift. And he starts off really scrawny and he's got 75 pounds. And by the end, it takes about a minute for him in a year to get up to 375 pounds. And the weight is getting stacked on, and there is a lot of physical pressure and pain to get to that higher weight. And so for our kids, thankfully, technology is pretty intuitive to them as far as learning
Yep.
how to use it. They don't need 10 years of practice.
Yep.
And so this is the pace thing. Like I had a family a couple weekends ago ask me, we're thinking about getting our twin 6-year-olds smartwatches because they're going to be riding the bus. Or no, they weren't even riding the bus. They're going to be going off to kindergarten. And so I said, okay, so if you waited on a smartphone until high school, that's like 14. Even if you just waited till 13, which we think you should wait longer than that, you're talking about 8+ years
Yeah.
of a ramp between those two things. That is
Yeah.
a really hard thing for parents to have the reins on that long. So I think it's looking at like, how old are your kids now?
Mhm.
And what is the goal for them to be released in technology to handle it well? So
Yep.
for a lot of people, like we have an 18-year-old going off to college, we want him to be able to use that technology in a way that honors the Lord when he's out from under our roof. But
Yes.
we're not starting that this summer. So we have been starting. We have been having all the conversations. We have given access little by little, and then we've talked about it and we've prepared him for failure. I mean,
Mhm.
failure is part of learning. So we basically, as parents, have to look at what is the end goal and be prayerfully asking the Lord, getting counsel from people in our church body, people we trust, other parents who are further out ahead of us. What did you experience? Like how long was it between a smartphone and social media release for you? And how did it go? Right. So it's like our kids can't get everything all at once.
Yep.
That you're right. That's a tsunami. That's not good.
Yep.
But if we're giving them measured access, in our home where they can fail. I think the technology basically is designed for adults. So you're talking about adult training. So between the years of 15 to 18, it's like you're learning how to manage money. You've probably got some sort of kid debit card. That's wild to me. Like, you see
I know.
little kids out swiping their card. You're like, what?
Yes, exactly.
But they're managing money. They have accounts. They are working jobs. They start looking at colleges, applying for scholarships. This is all adult in training mode. So addictive technology fits in that stage of life. And
Mhm.
everything up until that point is your preparation and your training for that. So you're learning as a parent how to manage your own chops of like, how do I monitor this? How would I
Yep.
release social media?
Yep.
Do I even use social media? Do I understand it? So all of that. And then going back to your first question of like, what if you want to put it in reverse? What I can tell you is it's not easy,
Yep.
but it's not impossible. One of my favorite resources to help parents really understand the impact of technology that they've already given over is a book called 30-Day Blackout. And it's written by a friend of mine who's a therapist here in Nashville. And she gives you a recipe for unplugging technology for 30 days. So it's like, first week, do this. Second week, do this. It's very easy to follow. It's obviously different for every family, but
Right.
you're not just guessing, like, okay, maybe I'll do it this way. She's been walking families through this for more than a decade. And so I think for families that are considering, do we need to go backwards? That's a really easy way to start. Okay,
Okay.
could you read this book? Could you unplug your kids from it for 30 days? And what do you see? And if what you see compels you that this is a better way,
Yep.
then you start implementing some like add-ins. Like, okay, how do we get back to normal now? 30-day blackout is not a permanent state.
Yep.
And so I actually work with this therapy office to help families know how can we put some of these things back into our family life prayerfully and in a healthy way. So that is like, okay, we're not going to have any technology in the bedrooms anymore.
Yep.
Like once you starting to reintegrate.
Yep.
So it is possible to go backwards, and in many cases, I would say it's necessary. Um, I I think the families who have done it in my life are like, I was petrified to do
Yep.
that, but it was totally worth it in
Mm.
the end. I mean,
Mm.
you're talking about your kids' spiritual and physical health.
Yep.
Uh, as a parent, you've got to do whatever it takes, even if they hate you. They
Yeah.
might hate you for a little bit,
Yeah.
but um, the bonds that they need are the bonds with their family, because you're the one who's going to get them through the crisis in the years ahead, not their phone.
Yeah.
And so you've got to put those deep connections with your kids, and technology just gets in the way of that. There's a great article that I saw on Jonathan Haidt's Substack by Andrea Davis that's all about going backwards and the benefits of it and how you can do it. So I would just encourage parents to really pray about it and be willing to do something extremely courageous for the
Mm.
sake of your family and your child.
Thank you for being bold about that, Sarah. I am a little farther along in life than you. I'm one of the later baby boomers, and I have had to go backwards myself on some of my interactions with my smartphone. What about kids that don't have the brain development and
Right.
the stewarding of their development that parents and church leaders have? That's one of the pieces of my perspective. And it also occurs to me, if you knew that heroin and cocaine were coming into your home at will, wouldn't you do something about it? This
Right.
is that damaging to your kids' brains and future. It's worth being that mama bear, papa bear
Yes.
about.
Yes. And you know what? In the experiments that you see where kids have to give up their technology for a certain amount of time, sometimes
Yep.
it's a class, with the professor's giving them an assignment. Sometimes it's, youth camp situation or whatever. But I remember seeing or hearing a professor talk about this experiment he ran with his students. And these are young adults. And they pulled out of their phones for a couple of days. And he said, they're not going to do it unless you give them a structured way for
Yes.
them to have permission. They need permission. And so even last night, I was talking with my 21-year-old son about just some of the things that are so discouraging about their generation, of just how, everybody is struggling with vanity, or
Mhm.
vanity's twin, insecurity,
Yep. Yep.
because of all the stuff that they're seeing and engaging in all the time. And I just said to him, well, you can start with you. And just like, what William Wilberforce is known for,
Yes.
his work, combating and basically eradicating slavery. Like, he was this
Yes.
this kingpin. But he felt the same way. He felt like, who is even on my side? Everybody was against him, right? And then he moved out of London to this little place called Clapham, and he started having these dinners. And these abolitionists would come from all over the world
Mm.
to synergize and have a meal and talk about the strategy to eradicate slavery. So it's a very small group, but from that group grew all of this influence and boldness. And so I'm like, make a Clapham for
Yes.
your generation. Get together and let's talk about it. Because he was like, Mom, could you talk to the girls? I need you to talk to the girls in my life, because he doesn't want to seem judgmental. And he could talk to the guys. So it's like, okay, how can my generation support your generation? Because yeah, as a parent, your kids, their ears grow dull to your voice in certain seasons, and they need other adults to say these things. So
Yes.
one of the greatest joys of my life is being the adult that college students listen to, who are not my own children. Like, I get the credit for being wise, saying the exact same things their parents have been saying. So I think we do need to speak up. We need the generations. I was just at a church where I was calling the generations one by one to the battle. And
Mm.
what I said to those who are of the baby boom era and older is like, your adult children are probably exhausted telling
Yes.
their kids to get off their phones. And
Yes.
so, because the grandparents are like, I feel awkward because I'm not their parent, whatever. They're going on a family vacation, and it's like, you use your leadership in your family for this moment. Like, hey guys, I'd love to just mark off a couple of days on this vacation where everyone puts their phone away.
Yep.
And it would be a great blessing to me. It would really honor me. Now you've taken the bullet for your adult children who are like, thank you. I'm so sick of fighting this fight. Um, and your grandkids see that leadership. It's like, you're carrying things, you're tethering us to a pace that we're gonna forget if you don't step into this ring. So we need you. We need every generation.
Mm.
Um, and I think kids are really longing
Yes.
to unplug, but
Yes.
they need permission, and they need the adults and the parents and the grandparents and the coaches and the teachers to go before them and say, we're not doing it. Like, I had a coach tell me, he said, after coming to one of our things, he's like, I just realized I have authority to be like, no phones on the bus. I can do
Yeah.
that. And I
Yeah.
said, you should do that. They'll probably win more games because they're
Yes.
more focused. So, whatever ways we can as parents, grandparents, teachers, coaches, to get in front of the situation and say, this is what wisdom says, and this is what we're doing, then now you have young people who can experience the relief long enough to realize, this is what I really need.
Mm.
They just
That's
don't
great.
know it till they experience it.
Yeah. Powerful stuff, Sarah.
Thank you.
Parents Who Fight, your organization, we're going to have links to that. And you have a book coming out
Mhm.
for leaders.
Yes.
Um, and I was thrilled when I heard about what you are putting out there, because this can perhaps for some feel a little overwhelmed. And you've outlined what this can look like.
Yes. So I coupled with or partnered with a couple of pastors from our church body to write this book. It's called The Next Gen Tech Reset. And the subtitle is Leading Radically Low Tech, High Impact Student Ministry in the Age of Algorithms and Addiction.
Great.
And we wrote this book out of our experience, because we have experienced families that have gotten behind this idea. We've experienced the fruit that has been, over now 5 years of kids who have been able to unplug and who see the value outside of just ministry settings for their own life. And so the thing that makes us so strong is the combination of voices. So we have a teaching pastor at our church who brings a perspective from the Word, and he's sharing, here's the biblical basis for these principles. Then we have a youth pastor who's bringing his perspective from the field, which is both working in technology and working in youth ministry for 15 years. That's remarkable. And then you have my perspective working in 10 years from the research. Here's what the research says about what our kids are up against. And here's why, as churches, we can't afford to be soft on this. We can't afford to let the world lead in this. We have to be the church. So from the Word, from the field, from the research, and we basically just give youth ministries and next-gen leaders a how-to. Here's how you can protect the sacred gatherings like camps, retreats, and services. Here's how you can call your team to greater accountability, because we have a lot of volunteers who are in their 20s, and they also are struggling with technology addiction. So we have to help them. We have to get a hold of our own proclivities and modeling for our students what it looks like to have a healthy relationship with technology. We have to teach them patterns of fasting. So one of the things my own two kids have grown completely accustomed to is that 3 times a year, there's going to be a week-long fast of technology prior to a retreat or camp. They know it's coming. They've experienced the benefits of it. It's part of their pattern now. And so we call, the church to implement more patterns of fasting. And then we finally give them a charge for courageously standing. And we give them tools. Here's how to have a survey here's a survey you can give to your parents. Here's some information you can lay before your senior pastor and get some unity in your body about how this should look. We give them so many tools that they can use to implement some new policies to address parents or et cetera. So we're really excited about it. It's coming out mid-September. And it's something that we want next-gen leaders to feel like it's a tool that they can make their own, and they can utilize it to make whatever changes are necessary for the ministry that they're leading.
Well, check the links, friends, to Tech Reset. We'll have that. Pre-order it. Make sure it's in your mailbox or your inbox, whatever version when it comes out. Really important stuff. Sarah, I take my hat off to you and to your husband Jesse. The two of you together have been doing this. Parents Who Fight work. It is a fight. And through the power of the Lord, it is not a lost fight. It may seem like it's too big, but it is worth it. And I take my hat off to you and thank you for what all you have online at, Parent Who Fight website. We'll make sure that link is there. And then the Tech Reset book. Just bless you. Just bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for being a champion in this fight as well, because we need you, and we're so grateful to partner with you.
Again, folks, check the links under this video. The Parents Who Fight website, we've got some of the social media links there as well. Really practical and helpful stuff. And then Tech Reset, the book that's coming out. If you're watching this when this first comes out, it may still be on pre-order, but it's coming out very soon. Check that out. Powerful and practical resource. I also want to invite you to our Dr. Carol Ministries resources. You may be wrestling with some of the sexuality stuff in your own mind and heart and life. Our website, yoursexpectations.com, has a number of resources. We have an online course, we have a book, we have in-person small group intensives to help you process the pathways in your own brain that may need to be addressed. And what does it look like to invite Jesus right into the middle of all that in you? Check out yoursexpectations.com. We've got that link under this video. I hope you are subscribed to our channel. We put up new information at least every week, and we want that to come to you. So make sure you subscribed. And then I would love it if you would tell somebody else about this channel and share it with them. That would be a gift to them. And now until next time, may God bless you.